Okay, amazing. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, Be'ezrat Hashem. We are continuing in Shaar Habitachon and the Pticha and the introduction. Um, we are learning today for the Refuah Shema of Sarah, Rachel, Leah, Batya. May Hashem send her a speedy recovery b'toch Shar Cholei Yisrael. And we continue in the introduction to Shaar Habitachon. Okay, so Chovot HaLevavot is now going to explain to us that one of the benefits of bitachon is that a person does not need to put himself in dangerous situations. He doesn't have to put himself in a position where in order to earn a livelihood, he has to go and do things that are potentially harmful to himself. So he says the following, one of the benefits is menuchat nefesh, which means relaxation of the soul, from having to go and travel very far distances. Devar hamechale et haguf umekreb et ketz hachaim, something that totally exhausts the body, and also causes the person to lose years off of his life. Like it says, when a person travels, it's like a torture to my strength. Kitzar yamai, it causes my days to shrink. Now, he's going to tell us a story about one particular individual who was considered to be parush, which means that he was somebody that was, a Torah God-fearing Jew. And he traveled far in order to make his living. He traveled very far to get his livelihood. In the city he came to, he met up with a particular Gentile that was an idol worshipping person. So the Jew said to this guy, how blind are you, and how much you lack understanding that you worship these idols, right? So he said, so whom do you serve? And he said to him, I serve Hashem, the one who could do anything, the only one who provides, the one who provides, and there is nobody else like him. So the Gentile said to this Jew, your actions contradict your words. So he asked him, how so? So the guy answered him, if it was true what you're saying, that the one that you serve is the one who sustains everything, and his abilities are not lacking anything, meaning he can do, he's not limited by anything, then he would give you parnasah, he would give you sustenance in your city, just like he provides you sustenance while you're here. And this Jewish guy did not have any answer to the words of the Goy, because he had a very good point. He had a very solid point, which is that Hashem is not limited by anything. Why is it that you think that you have to travel all the way across the world in order to get your parnasah? Why can't you live here and do your parnasah in a place which is not doesn't produce such an obstacle for yourself? It used to be traveling back in the day was really, really hard. Months and months away from home, traveling over the seas, traveling in ways that are very dangerous. And he says, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to go through that? We didn't have what to answer him. He returned home. From then on, this Jewish guy accepted upon himself to stay away and refrain from working and from chasing after worldly affairs in such a way. He never left his city again in order to find his sustenance. So in other words, Chovot HaLevavot is teaching us a very important idea. He's teaching us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have a problem sustaining you in a way that is not dangerous for yourself. You don't have to do something that is going to be a threat to you and to your existence. And sometimes people do things, they select methods of a livelihood for themselves, which are actually very not conducive to either good family life, or not conducive to Torah life, or not conducive to their health, all kinds of things that can be disrupted because of the method of parnasah that they choose for themselves. So it's important for us to understand this concept. So this is the idea of bitachon in Hashem, that a person is not worried that it's going to come to him. He has no fear that by doing what is important in the eyes of Hashem, he will not lose. He's not worried. There's a story about the Brisker Rav, very interesting story, where when he was in the Warsaw Ghetto for a certain period of time, he would never save any food. Every day they would give him a certain amount of food. People would save it, because you never knew when you would actually get more food. He would get it, he would eat it, and he would say, I have bitachon in Hashem, everything will be good, right? So he never saved it for the next day, with the exception of Erev Yom Kippur. On Erev Yom Kippur, when he was required to eat, so then he saved food, and he regretted it afterwards. Because look what happened, very interesting thing. This one fellow came to him on Erev Yom Kippur while he was sitting there in the Warsaw Ghetto with his son. And he said, I had prepared for you a whole meal. I'd saved up fish and welcome. I saved up fish and chicken and all kinds of things for you. And as I was bringing it to you, I tripped and fell, and the whole thing fell down on the floor like that. And he looks at his son and he says, you see, the one day that I saved food is because of that, I lost an entire big meal. An amazing thing. Because he says, why did I have to save it? Why am I worried about my parnasah? It's going to come. It's going to come to me one way or another. The truth of the matter is, that's what it says about Hillel. That Hillel, when he saw something that was good for Shabbat, he didn't, he would take it, but then he wouldn't save it. He would say, Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. Every day, there's another opportunity for Hashem to provide it for me. So I don't have to save it up for later. I could have it now, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will send me more later. It's an amazing thing. Rabbi Surav was he was a tremendous Baal Bitachon. 1948, when he was in Israel, so he was sitting down in his home and he was learning. And there were shells and bombs and things flying all over him. And he just sat there and he learned. His family said, we have to go down to the miklat, to the bomb shelter. This is crazy. So they took him downstairs, and they came back up after a few hours, and exactly where he was sitting, his entire chair, table, everything exploded. Everything had completely exploded. Had he been sitting there, he would have been dead, 100%. So they said to him, look, you see, right here, there was an explosion right where you were sitting. So he said, I'm going to take you to a din Torah for my chair. Had I been sitting there, it wouldn't have exploded. He had such a bitachon in Hashem that if you're doing what's right, you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to be afraid of. And that's something which is, again, on a very high level. But you should be aware that that's only when it comes to worldly affairs. When it comes to issues of spirituality, then you have to be clear that you can't just say, I have bitachon. It says that Ashrei Adam mefached tamid. Fortunate is the one that's always scared. What do you mean always scared? Because God forbid, if I'm doing something wrong in spirituality, that I can't just say I have bitachon. No, that you have to be on top of yourself to make sure that you are doing the right thing and that you are making sure that everything is good. The same rabbi, the Brisker Rav, was once, when he was in Europe, he had a mikveh that he would check. And he would go and they would empty out the mikveh. And the rule is in a mikveh that it has to be that the pit where the water sits is completely stationary. If there's a crack in the wall of the mikveh and the water is flowing, it becomes disqualified. It's called zochalim, which means that the water is flowing. So the Brisker Rav would constantly go around and he would check the mikveh to make sure that it was kosher. So at one point, there was another great Rebbe, his name was the Slonim Rebbe, who came to visit the rabbi, and he wanted to ask him a couple of questions. So he saw the rabbi was going to the mikveh to check it, and he went after him to check the mikveh as well. And the rabbi was walking by with his light, watching everything, looking at everything to make sure it was perfect. And then the Rebbe said to him, wait, there's something in this wall over here. And the rabbi stood frozen, terrified. Maybe he made a mistake and he didn't properly check the mikveh. He was so scared that maybe you never saw him as terrified. You can't say bitachon. No, when it comes to spiritual matters, it has to be exactly on top of it with absolute certainty that everything is being done correctly. So that's the idea. When it comes to, you have to know that your bitachon is not apathy. A lot of times people have apathy, which means they don't care. They don't care about this. They don't care about that. So yeah, what about my livelihood? I don't care about that either. That's not bitachon. Bitachon is you have certainty that Hashem will take care of everything. But where do you see it play out? When it comes to spiritual matters. When it comes to spiritual matters, the person is on top of it and doesn't let anything go by. He's terrified and scared. Maybe he did something wrong. That's what the Brisker of was really all about. Okay, so therefore, Rabotai, we understand that a person that has true bitachon, when it comes to worldly matters, he will not go and do things that are going to be a challenge for his life in this world. And we're going to see a lot more about that in a moment. Let's take a look at this next paragraph here. Says the Chovot HaLevavot, ואחת התועלות היא שיש לבוטח בהשם מנוחת הנפש והגוף מהעבודות הכבדות והמלאכות המעייפות את הגוף. Person has to ask himself, how do I want to make a living? How do I want to choose my livelihood? What can I do in order to make sure that my livelihood is the best thing for me? Chovot HaLevavot is telling you that if you have bitachon, your choice of how to earn a living is going to be an entirely different outlook. Because when a person understands that it's really not the income that he has is not the job that he is doing. That's not the source of his income. The source of his income is Hashem. But Hashem insisted that we work because there's a curse upon mankind. So then his main goal is going to be, which job can I use in order to serve Hashem the best? So for example, think about our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, David, Moshe. What do they all have in common, everybody? Anybody know? They were all shepherds, exactly. They were all shepherds. What's the idea of them all being shepherds? You see, a shepherd has a lot of time on his hands. A shepherd goes ahead, watches the sheep, makes sure that they have a safe place to eat, makes sure that they're together, they don't run away. Okay, but most of the time, he has the ability to sit, to learn. David HaMelech wrote the whole Tehillim at this time. He was able to grow spiritually, and he was able to become a tremendous tzaddik while being a shepherd. Same with Abraham, with Yitzchak, with Yaakov, etc. So they chose a profession that helped them to become who they became. And that's the idea. When somebody has bitachon, he understands my parnasa is from Hashem. And therefore, I have to say to myself, if I do what's right in the eyes of Hashem, I will never lose. I will only stand to gain. And for this reason, you will choose something that matches a Torah-style profession, a life of Torah. Meaning, a person that finds himself in a profession that offers all kinds of temptations, all kinds of challenges with how he speaks, how he acts, where he goes, where he has to find himself. So you have to ask yourself, do I really need to do this in order to earn a livelihood? Do I really need to put myself in a position, for example, for a young man, where he's in a work environment where there are lots of young ladies and they're throwing themselves at him all the time? This is a challenge for any man, especially a younger guy. So does he need to make himself be there in order for Hashem to send him a parnasa? The answer is, of course, no. He can have a parnasa in a much better work environment. And remember, the dollar figure that comes to him was established on a Rosh Hashanah. And that dollar figure is not changing. The only question is, will he get all of it, right? Will Hashem, is he going to have the pipes from Shamayim come down to him and have Tzionot HaShefa open in order that he should receive all of it, or is he damaging them? That's a different issue. But the point I'm trying to make is, why do we think that unless we do this, and that, we're not going to have a parnasah? For example, people want to send their kids to colleges where they're thrown into temptation after temptation because they have to go to college. They have to do this, they have to do that. Which, okay, you want to go to college? No problem. But why are you choosing to go somewhere that is going to present a problem with Shabbat? How are you going to keep Shabbat? It's a problem with kashrut. How are you going to keep kosher? It's a problem with all kinds of things that are going to be in your way. Do you really think that Hashem will not give you a parnasah if you go down a different road that's more friendly to a Torah Jew? Right? Is it really a problem for Hashem to do that? Do you think you will lose by going down the path of Torah and doing something in a way that will be very helpful? I can tell you, I've seen people, I'm sure you've all seen people that are not college graduates, that have not, barely can read even, and they are extremely successful. If Hashem wants you to have the parnasah, you will have it. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in your education, but at the same time, why put yourself in a position where you're destined to fail, you're doomed to fail? That's not what Hashem wants. It's important for us to remember that. So over here, the Chovot Levot is talking to us about what kind of job is this person going to choose? Is he going to choose a job that's going to be physically exhausting for him and he's going to be collapsing every night? Is that what he needs to do? Maybe some people, that's what their natural instinct leads towards, and that's okay. But the question is, well, will he have a life? Will he have a family life? Will he be able to see his family? Is he going to be able to be a good father? Is he going to be able to be a good husband? These are top priority considerations that somebody has to make when he's accepting upon himself to do this job or that job or whatever job you want. Because if it's not going to be conducive to those things, then why should he go into such a thing in the first place? If he's going to go into an environment that's not good for a Torah Jew, why should he go there in the first place? Do you think that Hashem will punish somebody for doing something that is correct in the eyes of Hashem? It's important for us to think about these things. And if you think about it, this is a good explanation. We always wonder, why is it that Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, speaking about shepherds, why is it that Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven didn't want to go into the other side of the Jordan River, into the land of Israel? They were able to, they wanted to be on the other side because they had so much sheep, miknei rav. They had a lot of sheep. So what's the idea? So you look at it and they say, oh, they found a land that's good, they wanted more money. But other Mefarshim explain, Moshe Rabbeinu blessed them before they died because of the fact that they wanted to be close to Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moshe didn't go into Israel, so that by them living there, they were actually close to his burial spot, and they wanted to be shepherds just like Moshe was a shepherd. Again, you see the idea that people understand that there are certain professions that enable you to be a better Jew spiritually. And that's something that we should all aspire to do. Sometimes you can have time while you're working to have even some divrei Torah in the background, etc. And you can live and do things in a proper way in the eyes of Hashem. So he says over here, this is exactly the idea. He says over here very interestingly, a person who has trust in Hashem selects for himself amongst all of the types of professions, right, or types of work. The type of work, the type of work that gives his body the most rest, gives him the best possible name and reputation, and causes him to have the least possible amounts of worries. He's got enough things to worry about. Now he has to worry about all these other things. These things are important to think about. Why should he select a form of livelihood that's going to cause him to be so stressed out all the time? לחובות שתורתו מטילה עליו. You should go after a profession that is the most appropriate in order for him to be able to fulfill what the Torah wants him to do. וליתר עקרונות אמונתו, and to be able to perform all the duties of his faith. Why does he select such a profession? מפני שהוא מאמין, because he believes. שהאמצעי שהאדם מתפרנס על ידו, because the means by which a person earns a parnasa לא מוסיף לו על מה שכתוב לו. It does not add to what's already been affixed to him from the beginning of the year, ולא גורע ממנו מאומה, and it doesn't take away from him either. אלא, rather, האלוהים יתברך הוא הגוזר על כך. Hashem יתברך is the one that establishes what it will be. כמו שנאמר, כי לא ממוצא ממערב ולא ממדבר הרים, כי אלוקים שופט זה ישפיל וזה ירים. Hashem decides, Hashem can lift up this one and put down that one, and vice versa. So, again, the idea is very clear. The idea is, why select for yourself a livelihood that will cause you to not be able to fulfill your obligations to Hashem? And it's also very important to remember this when it comes to sending your son to yeshiva. A lot of people, they say, I want to send my son to public school. Why? The education is so much better. Okay, so the education is so much better in public school. Very good. But at the meantime, they're teaching them all kinds of crazy things over there, really crazy things. And you think that that's going to be a reason for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bless you and your family because they're teaching all kinds of things there to your son? Why should you run after that? Yes?
Don't the Jews also need to be street smart as well?
Sure.
That's why they get to be street smart.
It's okay.
Other human beings who go the bad way, but they learn not to go bad.
You can be street smart, and you can teach your children Torah and still be street smart. One does not go against the other. In other words,
I'm saying it goes against it. I'm saying it's good to go both ways.
All knowledge is good. When you gain knowledge in any field, it's a wonderful thing. You only stand to gain. But if your pursuit of any kind of knowledge is going to put you in a position where you're going to have to go against the Torah or start to lose your faith or anything of the sort, it's no longer good. Yeah, so I'm saying as long as it can go together side by side, okay, very good, why not? But my point is, any kind of pursuit that you're running after, if it's going to block you from serving Hashem in any way, it's not worth it. So my point is that if, let's say, a person is going to school, for example, I hate to even bring it up. I was in, not too long ago, in this school we have here locally, JFK. So I was there in JFK, and they have a boys' bathroom, they have a girls' bathroom. It's an elementary school. I mean, they're not even, they're not even 6th grade. And they have a trans bathroom. Yeah, JFK. Now that means that you're teaching kids that before they're 6th grade, they're not even 6th grade, and you're already putting into their minds, maybe you're not really what your body says you are. I don't even want to get into this. So the point that I'm trying to make is, what? You think that Hashem will not send you parnasa unless you put your kid there? Why? Why do you think that this is what you need to do in order for your son to have a good, successful life? This is going against Hashem.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Nothing against that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if we stay too much within that realm, we might be living in a bubble. We have to be aware of what's going on in the other world too.
You can be in a bubble and still have success. In other words,
success is not only money. Success means to have relationship with everybody, not to choose Magdali. That's success.
Okay, fine. All I'm saying is that if you, let's say, the risk factor of being out of the bubble, so to say, is very real. Here's a person that instead of working in an environment, let's say, where people are modest and people are, behaving appropriately, instead of working in such a place, he works in a firm where they do things that they shouldn't do. You understand? And you can imagine what I'm talking about. So why would you say to yourself, I should work there because there's a good salary, good paying salary there. Yeah, they do pay well over there. But what? You think that if you don't work there, Hashem cannot send you parnasah a different way? It's important for you. Okay, so I'm in a bubble. I'm in more of a bubble. Okay, but you're protected. You're not putting yourself in a position where you're setting yourself up to fail. And that's important for us to learn. We should not, our job is we don't want to meet up with the Yetzer Hara. We don't want to meet up with temptation. We don't want to meet up with situations that are challenging for us. Let's say, even if it's not like that, even if it's not immorality in the sense of, promiscuity. Let's say it's a person that you want to work with, but his deals are a little shady. Maybe he says it's this number, it's really that number, and you're going to make a lot of money. But wait a second. Do you think that by you doing this, you're going to make more than what Hashem sent you for Rosh Hashanah? We spoke about this once in Birkat Hamazon. We say, Achamanu yarfanasinu b'chavod, right? Hashem will give us parnasah with honor. And we say, beheter velo be'isur, with heter, meaning a permissible way, and not in a forbidden way. So the question is, permissible way, forbidden way, what do you mean? The answer is, it's the same number regardless of what you do. Same number. Question is, do you want it to be done in the permissible way or in the opposite way? When I heard this, actually very interesting. I was once in a court and I was listening to the prosecution make their final case against an individual who had committed a white-collar crime. And a Jewish guy, unfortunately, good person, but made a mistake. And the guy said it so clearly, the prosecution. He said, the saddest part about this case is that this fellow would have made the same exact amount of money anyway if he would have done it the legal way. He was doing really well and he would have made money anyway. So why did he choose to make it in the illegal way? He said it. I couldn't have said it any better. It's exactly true. Why do you think that in order for you to make that extra money, so to say, you have to go? You're going to make it anyway. If it's there for you, it's coming to you regardless. It's either heter or yisur. That you just choose. Do you want to do it the right way or the wrong? But it's the same number. That's the thing. So he's telling you over here. So if it's the same number anyway, so then why do you have to choose the parnasah that's going to be hard on you? It's going to destroy your body. You're going to have to travel here and there all day long. You're never going to see your wife. You're never going to see your kids. You're never going to be able to raise them. Why would you choose that? Again, because you think that it's the job that gives you the number. You think that it's whatever it is that you choose, the business that's going to provide for you. But it's not. That's a curse that you have to go through. The number comes from Hashem on Rosh Hashanah. And it's critical that we do whatever we can to remember that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, what I want to just focus on is that the bitachon that a person has is something that also brings him tremendous happiness. Tremendous happiness. And they spoke about this, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, spoke about this exact concept regarding Jewish people that came from Europe to America in the 1920s, 1930s. And he described an interesting phenomenon. So you have two families, both of them are completely Shomrei Shabbat. They keep Shabbat 100%. And he said, I noticed that one family, their children, they kept the traditions going, they kept Shabbat going, they kept everything going. And another family, even though the father did everything he could to keep Shabbat, the kids left it all. And he said, what's the difference? Why is it that one family, they were 100%, and the children and the grandchildren, they all kept Shabbat? And then this family, where the father worked so hard in order not to break Shabbat, and his kids and grandkids all left it. He said the difference between the two families is that one family, they didn't just keep Shabbat, but they celebrated Shabbat. And as much as it was difficult for them, and as much as they were having a hard time in terms of their struggle financially, but they acted in a way where they were so sure and so certain that everything is going to work out, that to them, they didn't feel any pain, they didn't feel any issue. They had total bitachon in Hashem, and they lived a happy life. Their home was a happy home, and Shabbat was a happy Shabbat. The other family, even though they would never break Shabbat in a million years, doesn't matter what you tell them to do, they would never do it. But the home was sad. The home was a place where, oh, this is so hard. It's so difficult. Every single week, I have to find another job. Every week, I go back to work on Sunday, pink slip. Every week, I don't know how I'm going to work it out. Again, I don't know how much. Forget about the end of the month. What about the tomorrow? Then I don't know what's going to happen. Every week, it's something else. So Shabbat was a source of difficulty, and their lives were revolving around frustration all the time. What's the key difference between the two? One of them had serious bitachon and had happiness, tremendous happiness, and the other one did not. Interesting to note, one such family was actually related to a friend of mine, and he told over the following story. He said his great-grandfather, whoever it was that was here, every week when he went back to work, he got a pink slip. And that means he was fired. So he's fired from his job, pink slip. And he collected all his pink slips. Came Sukkot, and he took all the pink slips and he hung them up in his sukkah as decoration for the sukkah. He says, this is my Noi sukkah. He was so happy and so proud of what he did for Shabbat. And his house was such a happy house. So people that live like that with bitachon, they don't focus on how hard it is for them. It is hard. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's not hard. And I'm sure that it was a struggle for them too. But the bitachon carried them through it, and they lived happy lives, and that transferred over to the children. So it's critical for us to understand that the bitachon brings for us incredible happiness. If a person really taps into it, then he can get by every single issue, no problem. There's a story about the Stipler Gaon. The Stipler Gaon, Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky, the father of Reb Chaim Kanievsky, was somebody that had so much difficulty in his life. He had so many challenges that he went through. You know, he was in the Russian army at a young age, and it was amazing. You know, the story with the coat. You ever hear the story of the Stipler with the coat? So the rule is you can't take anything off of a tree on Shabbat. Can't put on a tree, can't take off of a tree on Shabbat. It's a rabbinic decree. They took the Stipler out on duty on Shabbat, and his job was to guard the base. And the way that it worked was, it was so cold in Russia, so that one guard, when he finished his watch, he took the coat and he put it on the tree, and then the next guard took it and he wore it. That's how they would do it. And unfortunately, it was Friday night and it was Shabbat, and he wasn't able to take the coat off of the tree. So he kept on saying, you know what, 5 minutes. I could do another 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes came by, he said, you know, I could do another 5 minits without taking the coat. And then 5 minutes went by, he said, I could do another 5 minutes. And then he kept on doing this the whole night long until his watch was over. Now, again, I'm not telling you that he wasn't allowed to take the coat. He was allowed to take the coat. But he had so much bitachon in Hashem and so much trust that he's going to be able to get through this with happiness that he didn't feel any need to take the coat. He says, you know what? I could last another 5 minutes, 5 more minutes of Shabbat. It's worth it. And he didn't do it. Again, it's a different level. But at the same time,
it didn't become Alaska.
Yeah, at the same time, he pulled through. So it's important for us to understand that it brings a tremendous happiness to a person, and it helps him to choose for himself a livelihood and a lifestyle that will help him as somebody who loves Torah. He'll choose a profession that is good for him in the eyes of Hashem, that's good for a Torah Jew. Okay, let's continue. ואחת התועלות היא שאין לבוטח בהשם עוגמת נפש מענייני המסחרות. Another very important factor is that a person who has bitachon in Hashem will never be down if something isn't going according to plan. כגון, for example, אם הוא לא יכול למכור את סחורתו, somebody, he has a store, he's got lots of merchandise, and he's hoping to make a killing, he wants to sell, he wants to make money, he's got a good profit margin, and nobody shows up to the store. That's happened to more than one person. So now a person could be sad, he could be down, he could be frustrated, and he could really start to lose, his his flavor of life. Unfortunately, it's very, very damaging when that happens. So what do you do? Or for example, how many times is somebody owed money and people don't pay him? And you call the guy, where's my money? No. Where's my money? No. Don't come today, come tomorrow. Don't come tomorrow, come in a week. Don't come in a week, don't come at all. And the guy owes you money and you can't collect it. These are things that are very frustrating. So a person that has bitachon says, okay, if Hashem wants me to get the money, I'm going to get the money. If Hashem doesn't want me to get it, I won't get it. But either way, I'm in good hands. I'm in the hands of Hashem. I'm happy. God forbid somebody goes through an illness. Somebody that has an illness, it could really, bring him down. So a person with bitachon says, no, if this is what Hashem put me through right now, I accept it and I know that I'm in good hands. He knows. He knows that Hashem is taking care of his needs much more than he is taking care of his own needs. And gives him and selects for him what is good for him, even more so than what he's doing for himself. When Hashem does something to me, I stay quiet. Why? Because I'm hoping to Hashem, meaning I know that Hashem is in charge and doing what is best for me. It's like a person, you see somebody that the doctor prescribed for him, 4 different pills. And this guy, he sees that the doctor gave him 4 pills. He says, listen, you gave him 4 pills. Maybe give me 4 pills too. What do you mean 4 pills? This is not candy over here. This is medication. It's what you need and what you don't need. So here's the person. He's wondering, how come this guy has this and I don't? Oh, what do you mean? He has certain things that are selected for him because that's what he needs. And you have certain things that are selected for you because that's what you need. And there is no mistake over here. It's custom made for you, packaged for you, for exactly what you need in order for you to accomplish your mission. And if you think differently, then you're not understanding how this works. The Baal HaBitachon understands that whatever is coming his way from Hashem is custom tailored for him for exactly what he's supposed to achieve. And therefore, he has no frustration. He's not in doubt about anything. And I didn't make the sale, unfortunately. I didn't get the promotion, unfortunately. Whatever it is, but it means that I'm not supposed to get it for right now, for whatever the reason may be. And Hashem has in store for me whatever he has in store for me, but I'm in good hands. I'm in the hands of Hashem. That's what bitachon, Rabotai, is all about. So it looks like we are almost done with the introduction. And that's good news. Let's finish up one last paragraph. One more benefit is Shabotech b'Hashem sameach b'chol davar she'Hashem mesabev elav. The person that has bitachon is happy with whatever Hashem throws his way. Gam im hu negativo, even if it's against his nature. Ipnei shehu boteach be'elukim, because he's trusting Hashem. She'aseh lo rak et ma shehu tov avuro b'chol yanav. He knows Hashem is going to do only what is good for him in every aspect of his life. Kemo she'oseh ha'em harachamaniya livna. Just like a mother, a merciful mother does for her baby boy. She washes, she cleans his bottom, she ties him up with clothing, she unties his clothing, against his will. I place myself and I stay quiet, just like a baby is with his mother. Kegamul alay nafshi. I know that my relationship with Hashem is like a mother taking care of a baby. The baby has no idea why the mother put him down, picked him up, dressed him, undressed him, washed him, didn't wash him, cleaned him, didn't clean him. Everything is with a specific reason, and the baby might not be aware, but it is the case that the mother has a reason for everything that it does with the baby. So if we understand that, we have the ability to understand that, we are happy with no matter what Hashem sends our direction. Again, we hope it's only good things and positive things, and we want for that. But no matter what it is, a true Baal Bitachon has no frustration and no doubts about what is going on because he knows he's in the hands of Hashem. All right, guys, we'll stop over here. If we have any questions, that's a great time.
You covered everything.
Okay, very good. Chazakim Ruchim, thank you very much.